The reason why Nigeria it is today is because there's a genesis to the distortion. It didn't start today. And I'll take you back to some key dates. I'll take you back to the year 1914. The year 1914 was the year they amalgamated the Northern and the Southern Protectorate. But before then, the British had first amalgamated the Southern Protectorate. Because you see, when they came, they met us fighting ourselves. Prior to that time, we had fought the Kiridi and the Jalomi wars. So in the South, for instance, when the British came, the only thing they had to do was just to unite the warring factions. Because the Jeshakiti Parakbo were fighting deep, the Oyo people and all of that. So we were fighting and we had made a lot of slaves. Most of the people that went from the Kiridi and Jalomi wars were those that went as slaves to Latin America. Those are the people that came back as what we call the Agudaos. These are the likes of the Darochas. So that's why you see that Lagos Island is filled with a lot of Brazilian architecture. They even celebrate Fanti Festival. In fact, we eat frijon in Christmas. Frijon is not native to us. It's Portuguese food. So those were the cultures they brought back. But how did we get those cultures? Because we were fighting. So they said the kingdom of God suffered violence. And all this violence can take place by force. We were already fighting from hitherto. Then the British came, settled the fight, then they colonized. The first inroad of the British in what is called Lagos colony today came in the middle 1800s. When two people too were fighting over the throne of Lagos, Kosoko and Akitoye. So they called in the British to come and settle fights. But you see, when you call a bigger man to come and settle fights of something that is very juicy, what do? They take it from you. So when Akitoye went aboard a ship called the HMS Prometheus on the Lagos Marina here, and he said, the British said, we don't know what you're talking about. Sign this edict that you will cede Lagos to us. So Lagos became a crown colony, and that's why in 1906, the first thing we did was the Southern Protectorate, the other fighting parts of the Yoruba parts, and Lagos colony. And that's why you see up till 1960, in fact, when we gained independence in 1960, residents full-born in Lagos had the chance to either choose a British passport or a Nigerian passport. But a lot of them opted for Nigerian passport. So after that amalgamation, they started to rule over us. So guess the things they started to do to us. The first thing they did was they distorted our mindset. That's the genesis of the distortion. So they told you that your black color was never good enough. How did they do it? Indoctrinations. At first, they tell you have to go through an education system. And after the education system, they say your language was not good enough, so they taught you in English. Have you ever wondered that if we are taught mathematics in Igbo, there will have been more people with a sound understanding of mathematics than in English? So the first thing you have to do, you have to learn your colonizer's language. And when you learn your colonizer's language, they took away your identity on how to think. So they call your customs and traditions idolatry. And the last thing they did was that they set up a fight between you, because they know if you are united, then there's going to be a problem. You remember the Tower of Babel? Even our God knew the importance of unity. So what did he do? He changed the language. So they set up a fight. And it's so easy. How would they do it? They have agents. Stir up ethnic strife. Yorubas will fight Hausa, Hausas will fight Igbos and all of that. And they fan the embers. And they constantly do it. So the first genesis of distortion was the initial colonialism, and they continued. In fact, they did it up till 1959, when we had the first elections, the 12th of December. You know what they deliberately did? That election, we know who won that election. Who had more votes? The NCNC had more votes. But originally, the British had planned that it was going to be a hung parliament. You know what they call a hung parliament? A hung parliament is when there's no clear winner in a parliamentary system. So you have to form a government of national unity. The British had known that it will be either the Yorubas and the Igbos, the Action Group, or the NCSC, and the MPC. The MPC was standard. So that was how they did it, and that was what happened.